So we're going to begin with the overview with the outline of the maamar we just concluded, and that is as follows. Hisalachti, plural. I will go in the plural. Implies two alichas. Number one, the giloy of Eir Mamala Kalamin, which is invested in the keli, the keli lamata, and that's therefore a hiloch, a movement which is malamata lamaila. That is ocher, that is the external dimension of elikus. Then there's giloy hasev kalamin, which is primarily the revelation of the upper, and that is a movement milamayla lamata, and that's the revelation of the pnimius of elikus. Likewise, kimemios, two statures. That's the two. You will walk. That's referring to avodah sa'odam, the person's avodah, which is what elicits the two halichas above. So the Eivish is going, and you are kimemios. So the yid is pale, the Indian. So what are the two kimemios for the yid lamata? One is to fix the guf. That's the chetzonis dik avodah, and the second is for above. Tzerich gavoya, then is ava kodesh baruch hu, the relationship with the neshama. The maamar doesn't spell that out, but that's the point. That's pnim. Another way, or rather a parallel dimension, not a parallel, another dimension to these two avodas is one, the avodah b'seder v'adroga, the tzaddik, and the avodah higher than seder v'adroga, avodah bali tshuva. The kavanah is the fusion of the two, hence in one word, and hence the opinion that kimemios is not 200 amas, but 100 amas, namely the amshochav seviv memale and the aliyah memale in seviv. Likewise, an avodah tzaddikim, which precipitates that, is the avodah at once higher than seder v'adroga. In seder v'adroga avodah tzaddikim, and the avodah higher than seder v'adroga, the avodah of bali tshuva, and that should be a nimshach and the previous, as we explained and learned in the maamar. All right, now we continue. We're going to skip the next maamar. And learn the Shavuos maamar, which there are two. I'd like to learn both. So we'll start with Leil Aleph the Shavuos. First night of Shavuos before dawn, Tavshin Chav Beis. The maamar begins, Tzeno Ure'eno, in the pasuk in Shir Hashirim, Perigimel pasuk Yud Aleph. Go out and see, O daughters of Tzion, the Melech Shloimei, the King Shloimei, Batorash Italoi Imoi, and see the crown that his mother crowned him, Yom Chasanus, in the day of his wedding. As the Medrash points out, it's not referring to Shloimei HaMelech. We don't find anywhere that his mother gave him a crown, as the Medrash points out, but it's all an allusion to the Eibishter and Eden, as we will see. We do our Pirush Buz, and it's known the Pirush, both in the Kote Torah and also in Hayom Yom. Tzeno Ure'eno, go out and see, gate in Yiddish, gate harois and zet, the Alter Rebbe said. Go out and then you'll see. Meaning, that the person has to go beyond himself to see godliness. Other three Taka tells us the story with the Alter Rebbe and his Rebbetzin. That's the meaning, King Shlomo, the Koy al Melech Shasholem Shaloi, refers to the king unto whom peace is, and that's the Eibishter. Shehu Melech Malchi Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. That Torah Shitlayim, by the pasuk continues, and see the Eibishter crowned with a crown conferred upon him by his mother. So first of all, the diak is Torah Daika crown. Shehi al Gabi Melech Shloimei. This is a level higher than the Eibishter as manifest as Melech Shloimei, as the King of Peace, as it were. The Mailim Imenu, who grants him this crown, Batorazu Itreleimei, his mother. Hainu Sham Shachas HaTorah Deimei. The drawing down of this crown upon the level of Melech Shloimei is through his mother. Avla Torah Atzmo, but not only is the crown above Melech Shloimei, moreover, the crown itself is L'mayli B'chines Imay, even higher than the level of Imay of his mother. And that's what Imay is, which is a level of Yidden, as we'll learn at the end of the Maimer. Yidden Mamshich, the level of Torah, which is higher than them, as it were, on the level of Melech Shloimei. All to be explained. When does all this happen? B'yom Chasanusa, in the day of his wedding. All this is all illusion. Zeh Matan Torah Kedisa B'Medrash. As the Medrash says, it refers all to Matan Torah, which is the marriage of Eden and the Eibishter.
1 second. Is he saying that the union of that Torah is even higher than the Melech as well?
Yes.
I know it's going on the Melech's head.
That's for sure.
And it's higher than the mother. But is it higher than the Melech itself?
Higher than Melech Shloimei, yeah. Yeah. That's for sure. Not only that, it's higher than the mother who confers it. Melech, Malchus, so you'll see the dargas. Yeah. He says explicitly, Shehi al Gabi al Melech Shloimei, in brackets, L'mayli Mimenu, higher than him. And then he adds, which is not clear in the pasuk. That's why it says Gidul Kaman, as we'll say later. It's clear in the pasuk that the crown is higher than him because it sits upon him. What's not explicit in the pasuk is that the crown is higher than the level of Imay. He says that is so. Gidul Kaman. Aval, he said that Torah itself is higher than Imay, as we'll explain later. That's not implied in the pasuk, but implied in the pasuk is that it's higher than the level of Melech Shloimei. When does all this happen? Matan Torah. Hainu Shagidei, from Matan Torah going forward, not just on that day. Hainu Shagidei ha'achona de Tzeno. So through the achon of going out, means Allah is gin von sich. So one has to go out of self. What does it mean to go out of self? It means to do something you don't want to do. Or you said you don't have to do. Or you said you can't do. And I can't, and I don't have to, is rooted in I don't want to. So then, Ure'eno, so then going out of zich, then, and see, this is how a Jew comes to a relationship with the Eibishter where he sees. What does seeing mean? That's higher than hearing about God or understanding Him, but seeing Him. What is a Yid seeing by going out of himself? He can see the level of Melech Shloimei, Melech Shalom Shaloi, which means the king unto whom there is Shalom, there is peace. Now that's a lofty level. He has to say this right now, even though we said that the level of that Torah is greater. But appreciate that the level of Melech Shloimei is very lofty. Kiyadu, as it's known, why? It's known, what is the meaning? He makes peace on high. It's a pasuk in Eov. which is part of the Kaddish, but it's a pasuk. She'inyan hashalom hu, what does it mean it makes peace on high? There's a war on high. She'inyan hashalom shehu chibur shnei hafachim. Peace fuses two opposites. And how is that possible? The two opposites are chesed and gevura, michal and gavriel, gvul and bli gvul. So Bob, it comes from a level that's beyond division altogether. If the level we speak of itself is given to division to be graded, from there cannot be efshelis and mitis inyan hashalom. There can't be the true peace. It doesn't say there can't be some kind of peace. There can be a kind of peace. What it means by that is if the third party aligns himself with one over the other, which means there's his chalkus, he's party, he is inclined. The word in English, he's party to one position. So he can create a certain peace because one will overpower the other. But that's not ambidis inyan hashalom is taking up the side of one. It's a temporary external peace because one will overpower and win the day. But true shalom can only come from a level that's higher than both of them, that both of them therefore can happily surrender to. That's the true peace has to introduce. They're warring, obviously, so then they're incompatible. At whatever level that is, chesed and gevura. In order for them to fuse and become one, they have to face that which is transcendent, both, beyond both. Why would they care? But the source of both. The source of both. That they can both deeply identify with, because that's their true source. The Moshel is the Melech himself, and the two ministers are constantly in conflict, and he chose them so because he wants them to have contrasting opinions on every subject. But then when the king expresses his opinion, there's no battle here. They're his loyal servants. They see it his way. And his opinion embraces both opinions. So therefore, this is a very high madrega that Rabbi is saying, Melech Shalom Shalom. Kiyim, when can there be peace? Al Yidei Zeh Shenimshach Mibchinas Shalamayim Megeder Ischalkus Dafke. It has to be a level higher than Ischalkus, higher than division, which is what we're there in. They're in the world of division. It can't be one notch up or even 10 notches up. It has to be completely beyond Ischalkus to affect a true oneness. I mean, this is you see in everyday life as a parent or as a teacher, if you get, your position has to be with the children to truly bring harmony. It has to be, the father, the mother or the father of both equally. You're not taking sides here. But one of them is right, but you're not taking sides. You mean both of them equally. It has to be this way for their good. Then they'll accept it. Can't get down to their world. You got to be in their world from a position of transcendence. You're the father, the mother. If you get petty, then you won't be effective. Temporarily, but not long term. So this is a gewaldige level of Melech Shloim, Melech Shashalom Shalom. And how is that level seen and experienced by Tzeno Ure'eno? Then there's then there's the level of the crown, which is even higher than Melech Shloim, which his mother confers. Shehi al gabe Melech Shloim. This is upon the king. Notwithstanding the extraordinary level that we just addressed. Kol zen nimshach b'yom chasanus, and all of this is drawn down on the day of his wedding, which is Matan Torah, which is every day. Noisen HaTorah al yedei hagdama tzena. What begins this whole avodah, this whole revelation? It's all, as the pasuk begins, the call go out, as Megeta Reis von sich, that's how the whole Avodah, the whole Amshocha, and the whole relationship begins. Going out of self. Yeah, second paragraph. It says in Medrash Shir Hashirim. Rashi brings it, he says in the order 11, it's Pirish on the Pasuk, because it's just completely puzzling Pasuk. Who's the king? Shlomo Melech, who's the crown? We don't find such thing anywhere. So the Medrash has to explain it, as we have here. The Alter Rebbe's Pirish is based on the Medrash. More detail in the Medrash. Shol Rashbi Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Shimon Beyochai Asa Belazar Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Shimon Beyochai, no less, is asking this question. And he asks, did you hear from your father Rabbi Yossi? What's the meaning? What does it mean that the crown that his mother crowned him? Omaloi, Rabbi Yossi said, which is, by the way, he was talking about the Medrash. The Gemara, okay, it's not for now, but the Gemara we just thought about, the Gemara included yesterday about the of Yesoid, the whole story there. Rabbi wanted to know why it didn't come on Regel. The whole story is Yichud Zon. So the Rabbi is Malchus, why didn't you come? Tashpa, all the players there, I mean, I didn't see it in Chassidus, but it seems very obvious. If you remember the story yesterday, it's all the theme of the mind, which is why it concludes with it. Yichud of Zon Malchus and Malin Seivir. Okay, back over here. So here the story too, all the players here. Every Tan, every Amir in Gemara and so on, they're all not theorizing and analyzing scripture. They're all expressing where they're holding in their whole relationships and their conversation, and everything is all Yehudim, connections. Sometimes it's Musar, whatever it is, it's a living dynamic of a likus. Every discussion in Gemara, not positive opinions by theorists, by academics with opinions. That's what the Rebbe's father reveals in his teachings. Each Tana, through his name, his father's name, and where it took place, and what he said. It's all living a likus, living a relationship of his galos, etc. As Yidden are one with the Eibishter in the various dimensions of our relationship. So back to the story here. So Shimba Yechoy, it's significant. The author of the Zohar, Pnimis HaTorah, so he's asking Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi, what is, maybe your father told you, Rabbi Yossi, what does it mean, the crown? Omaloi, so he said to him, yes, my father did tell me. And this is what he said. Moishe Lemela, Shoyle Bas Yechida, so the matter can be compared to a king who had an only daughter. And he loved her more, he cherished her more, literally more than is enough. Now, what does that mean? Can you cherish a child more than is enough? At any rate, and he called her my daughter. He says, the next stage is he called her sister. These are all the expressions found in Shir Hashirim. Hashem calls us his daughter, his sister. So this explains all of these dimensions in our relationship with Hashem. But then the ultimate one is, as when he did not move from expressing his endearment, he called her my mother. Kach, he continues, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon Beyochai, the Eibishter loves eating exceedingly. Yossi means more than their worth, than they've earned it, in other words. Because, than they've earned. But who they are, that's something else. Koran, so you don't love a child because they earned it, because they exist. So there's different levels. Koran beating, he calls them my daughter, and that remains. Then sister, and finally, in other terms, it's also my dove, my friend. Yenosi, Tamosi, my wholesome one, And he didn't depart, didn't stop expressing his love until he called, the Eibishter calls Yidden my mother. Where do we find this anywhere? That's nowhere explicit in Shir HaShirim. Shir HaShirim is everything till there: sister, daughter, friend, of course, wife, lover. Where do we find that? Shenemar, it's a pasuk in Yeshaya. The Eibishter says, "Akshiva Elai Ami, listen to me, my people. Ulu Umi Elai Hazinu, and my people, hearken your ear to me." This word Ulu Umi is a hint. Ulu Umi Ulu Imi, that it my mother. So it's not explicit even in Yeshaya, but there's a remit, which is why Rabbi Shimon Yochai is asking. You don't find it anywhere, and he found in this pasuk. Rabbi Yosef explained that it means, that's what it means, and it's hinted in the pasuk. Interestingly enough, the Medrash concludes there that Rabbi Shimon Yochai stood up and kissed him on his forehead, hearing this explanation. Again, this is not just some expression of excitement, and on his forehead, like the crown. All these, every prat is b'diuk. And that he stood. And who is Rabbi Shimon Yochai? Is Magal Pnimius HaTorah. That's not the subject here. So let's continue. So now, based on the Medrash, that explains. What does it mean, the crown that his mother crowned him? Who is that? Koyal Neshamas Yisrael, it's a Yidden. Shem Itru HaTorah LaKadosh Baruch Hu, they crown the Eibishter. They are the ones that place that Torah on Melech Shlomo. Now, this L'cheira contradicts. We're giving the crown. The Eibishter gives us crowns on Shavuos. This is all happening in Matan Torah.
Why do we imply that it's the Yidden giving the crown? I thought it's the Imi.
But Imi is Yidden. That's the whole Medrash. Al Tikra. Umi Ela Imi. Imi. The first one is Ami, my people. The second one is Umi, which he teaches Imi, mother, Aleph. First was the Ayin, second was the Aleph. Ami Ksiv. Looks like it's missing, actually. I have to look it up. Looks like there's no Vav. It's in without a Vav, so it can be written, Imi, Mamish, my mother, without the Vav. Ksiv, clearly there's no Vav there. So you read it, Umi, my people, Umma is a nation. But it's written without a Vav to hint that it's Imi, my mother. That's with an Aleph. Clear? So the Medrash is saying it outright. Rabbi Yossi is telling it to Rabbi Shimon. He's telling you that there's a dargeh where the Eibishter calls Yidden my mother. So it's that dargeh, so Yidden placing the crown on the Eibishter when Matan Torah. That contradicts L'cheira. He's going to explain that doesn't. The famous Gemara. And it seems to Rabbi reconciles it. This is a, let's see inside. We're saying now that it's Yidden by Matan Torah who give the crown on the Eibishter, meaning the Darg of Melech Shlomo. As he pointed out before, that the Darg of the crown is higher than Imi, than the level of mother. But nonetheless, they're the ones that are Mamshichet. So this is not a steer to what it says in Gemara. That when Yidden prefaced Nasa before Nishma, says the Gemara, 600,000 angels descended to every Yid. And each Malach tied to a Yid 2 crowns. One corresponding to Nasa, one corresponding to Nishma. So it comes out, not that we are crowning, it's the opposite. The El Yoinim, the upper celestial beings, in brackets, the Malach HaShodes, the ministering angels, they are the ones that are crowning Ksorim, Neshamas Yisrael crowns the Yidden. But here the pasuk is saying, that Matan Torah Iter Neshama is so like Torah LaKadosh Baruch. Here we're saying that no, it's we that crown the Eibishter. Not a contradiction. The Shnei and Memesu, both are true. He explains. You have like to listen better.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying the text.
Yeah.
We learned this, friends. It says in Medrash Al Pasuk, Kedoshim Tiyu, you shall be holy, says the Eibishter, Ki Kodesh, only for I am holy. It says in Medrash in the Pasuk. Moshel ibn Abindina, it's a moshel of the citizens of a country, also Gimel HaTores L'Melech. So the citizens presented the king with 3 crowns. Ma Osa HaMelech, what did the king do? Nosem Baroish Achas, 1 he placed upon his own head, V'shtayim Baroishim Shel Banov, and 2 upon the heads of his children. Concludes the Medrash, and this is the Pshat of Kedoshim Tiyu Ki Kodesh Oni. Kach likewise B'chol Yom B'Yom. Every day Hel Yom Yemachtirim, the supernal beings, the Malachim. So they Machtirim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Gimel Kedushas, they offer the Eibishter 3 holiness. They say Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. Kodesh is the crown. Kodesh means removed. Ma Kodesh Baruch Hu, so what does the Eibishter do with this praise? Noisen Baroish Achas. 1 he places Kavayachal upon his own head. V'shtayim Baroish Shel Yisrael. And 2 upon Eden. That's the Kedoshim Tiyu Ki Kodesh on it. You'll be holy with the crowns I received. For I am holy. I have taken 1 of the crowns. Now, reconciling this with our Medrash, our Pasuk, that who gives the crown? Eden. Both things are true. But with the question at the end. So therefore that, it's understood, therefore that which the Gemara says in Shabbos, we just quoted, that the angels conferred upon the Eden 2 crowns. What's that? That's the 2 crowns that were given by the angels to the Eibishter, who then puts it on his head, on the heads of Eden. And our Medrash, and our Medrash that says that he didn't give the crown, that's a crown he took to himself. But we have the question, but the Medrash says the Malachim give the Eibishter the crown, and we're saying it's Eden. Achadain and moving, so we've kind of explained the 3 crowns, but the places of the crowns is not reconciled yet. In the moving, who's giving? That's not reconciled. It's a stira. It's a complete stira, because the Medrash says kol gimel, as we pointed out, as we said it now, that kol gimel ha'toris machtirim el yirim la'kadosh baruch hu. Who gives the 3 crowns? All 3. It's all who? The Malachim, the supernal beings. Shema Malachim, Shema Gimel Kedusha. That's the 3 Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh that they said. And so what the Medrash say? He takes 2, for him, 1 for himself and 2 for Eden, his sons. But our Medrash is saying about Torah Shitlei Imoi. So we haven't reconciled that. It has to be explained. Here it's Knesset Yisrael. It's the Yidden that confer the crown upon the Eibishter. We might add, and likewise, the Gemara says that who gives a crown upon Eden Malachei HaShodes. The Medrash comes out, it starts from them, but the Eibishter gives. That's not such a big kasha. Because where does he get the crowns from? The Malachim gave him. So that he doesn't ask in the Maimon, because that can be reconciled. Malachim give it, comes from them, the Eibishter is the shliach of the Malachim. But what's clearly stated here is the crown of the Eibishter. Who gives it? The Malachim or the Eibishter or Eden? The Gemara, Malachim, and our Medrash, it's Eden. Imba is Eden. So that has to be reconciled. Yeah, we're clear? Yeah? Yes, folks. Base.
Yes.
So the Indian is that the true Indian of a crowd, can come only through Yidden. A Malach cannot give a true Torah, a true crown. because the fish etzlam yeshna inyan hayitzia megeder agbol only a neshama, only a yid can Tzeena can go out of his limitations, and that's what the pasuk is saying. Tzeena, go out and see, and then the crown that's conferred, it's only as a result of the avodah of Tzeena. And this a malach is not capable of. It's only through going out of limitation can we touch the true level of the crown. What's the crown? The true transcendent level, in makiv itself, the two dargas of the keser, pnimis hakeser and chitzonius hakeser. Neither level, and certainly not amitis hamakiv, can be reached unless there's the yitzia going out of hagbalas. As he goes on to elaborate and explain now. There is a level of transcendent that is transcendent on the one hand. On the other, it's still related to and has a relative relationship to the pnimi, which means the graded, the limited, the oiris and kelim. Hainu meaning yoishat pnimi hu modadu mugbal. So the question is that if it's be'erech, why are we calling it a makif? It's not a makif, it's a higher darget. Makif implies transcendence, so it's a relative transcendence, meaning that since the pnimi is modadu mugbal, he actually lekabel es ha'oira elyon mimeno, even though the higher light is also limited, but since it's beyond his ken, therefore mebchinas makif. So it's a very deep emotional, it's a very deep seichel, but still a seichel. But it's beyond his ability, the student. So he hears it and he only understands it in a very makivdik way. He has a sense of the idea, but cannot internalize it. But that's not a truly makif revelation that the master is giving. He's giving a higher level of seichel. But the light, the revelation could be internalized. And that's why after 40 years, he gets it. Because to begin with, it's shayches to pnimi. But then there is giluyim that's not b'chlal shayches to pnimis. That's the true makif. That's pnimis hakes. It's in atzmi. Not given to limitation at all. Omnam amitis hamakiv, u'mishasad atzmi beged the makif. Not just higher, relative. Relative to the lower level, it's transcendent. He's fundamentally transcendent. He's removed from his chalkos period. The fisho oil built in mugbal to begin with, but etzem, it's a revelation that's built in mugbal, not limited. In order to reach this level, the level of the true Eir HaBligvul, so can't remain in one's own station. He's got to go out of his station, and in that, it's in what he's not what he is. In what he's not, in his renouncement, there in that space is the place of the Gilif Eir HaBligvul. That's B'chinas Tzeena. That's going out. And from there can come the Eir. Be'ez Hashem, to be continued tomorrow.